All right, so today we're going like way deep into how food can help us totally thrive during winter.
Ooh, yes.
We've got some really fascinating research, and you know what's really interesting is some of it actually comes from a Spanish source.
Hmm,
It just shows you that no matter where you are in the world, people want to stay warm and well-fed when it's cold out.
right.
So are you ready to figure out how to eat your way to a cozier winter?
I am so ready. Let's do it.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So the first thing that I noticed in this research is that they really emphasize cooked vegetables,
Mm-hmm.
especially the root vegetables that grow underground.
Yeah,
It's like they're trying to stay warm too.
right. Exactly. And there's a really good reason for that.
What is it?
Well, these veggies have lots of carbohydrates.
Okay.
And, our body breaks those down for energy, right?
Right.
They're also full of B vitamins, which are key for keeping our metabolism running smoothly.
I see.
And a faster metabolism helps us make more heat,
Oh, interesting.
so we can stay warm.
It's like their little internal furnaces.
Exactly. It's like nature's built-in heating system.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So we're talking onions, garlic, leeks, carrots,
Mm-hmm.
like all the good stuff, right?
All the basis of a good soup.
Exactly. Okay, but let's zoom in on onions for a minute.
Okay.
They're not just there for flavor, they're also good for something else surprising.
They are.
They help with congestion, don't they?
That's right.
Something about breaking down mucus.
Yeah, so onions have compounds that can thin out that mucus,
Oh, yeah.
making it easier to cough up
That makes sense.
and clear those airways.
Wow.
And on top of that, they're good for digestion,
Oh, nice.
which is really helpful when we're eating those heavy winter meals.
That's a really good point. So I guess that means that whether you're fighting off a cold or just feeling stuffy after a big meal, onions are going to be your best friend.
Definitely.
Okay, but what's the best way to eat them for these benefits? Raw or?
Well, our source actually recommends poaching them, roasting them, or cooking them with things like meat and fish,
Okay.
legumes, those kinds of hearty dishes that really warm you up.
Yeah, like a stew or something.
Exactly.
Okay, well, speaking of warming up,
Yes.
we have to talk about ginger
Of course.
because it's got that spicy kick that just makes it a perfect winter warmer.
Absolutely.
You know, I'm always reaching for ginger tea with some lemon when I feel a cold coming on.
And there's a reason that works so well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, ginger has a compound called gingerol.
Okay.
It's a strong anti-inflammatory,
Interesting.
especially good for your sinuses.
Oh, okay.
And lemon, of course, gives you a vitamin C boost and helps to thin the mucus.
That makes sense.
They're a great team.
They're a power couple.
Yeah,
Okay. So ginger's is basically like a spicy superhero.
I like that.
But you don't just have to drink it in tea, right?
No, definitely not. You can use it in so many savory dishes,
Like what?
like stir fries, soups, stews,
Oh,
even roasted vegetables.
oh, that's nice.
It's really a great way to add flavor and a health boost.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Okay, well, this next one kind of surprised me because the source recommends cooked apples and pears as winter fruits,
Interesting.
which isn't something I normally think of.
I know it seems a little counterintuitive,
Yeah.
but cooking them actually changes the pectin in them,
Okay.
which is a fiber.
Oh, right.
It turns it into something that's really good for your gut.
So does that mean that if you're feeling a little, backed up
Yes.
from all the heavier winter meals, the cooked fruit can actually help?
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
I always thought that cooking fruit just destroyed all the nutrients.
That's a common myth, actually.
Oh.
Yeah, while some nutrients can be lost,
Uh-huh.
others actually become easier for our bodies to absorb when we cook them.
Okay.
And in the case of apples and pears, cooking helps break down that tough fiber, making it gentler on our digestion.
Okay, so there's a method to the madness.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So speaking of fruit, is there anything we should avoid during the winter?
Well, our source recommends not going overboard on tropical fruits,
Really?
especially in places where the climate is damp.
Interesting.
Yeah, they tend to have this cooling effect, which isn't ideal when you're trying to stay warm.
That's true.
Right.
It's all about balance, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Well, let's move on to something that I'm definitely on board with.
Right.
Oily fish.
Yes.
I am all about that healthy fat, especially when it's cold outside.
Well, good news. Our source specifically recommends small, fatty fish,
Oh.
like mackerel, for winter.
Okay.
Yeah, they're full of protein, healthy fats,
Yeah.
and omega-3 fatty acids.
Okay, I know omega-3s are good for you.
Yeah.
But remind me again why they're so important for winter.
So they're great because they're anti-inflammatory,
Okay.
which can help if you get aches and pains in the cold.
Right, right.
But beyond that, they help your cells function properly. And they're great for your overall health, like your brain and your heart.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and they give you sustained energy, which is really important if you're active in the winter.
Right, so if you're like out shoveling snow or something,
Exactly.
or skiing or snowboarding.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so it's like giving your body a tune-up for winter.
Exactly.
I like that.
Yeah.
Are there other types of fish that would be good?
Yeah, so sardines,
Okay.
herring, and anchovies are all great choices.
Got
They
it.
have the same great nutrients and can be cooked in all sorts of ways.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, well now for something a little bit more adventurous.
Okay.
The source suggests venison or wild boar for winter.
Interesting.
And I get it that this isn't for everyone,
Yeah.
but I am curious to learn more about it.
Well, historically, these meats were really important for people to survive the winter.
Oh, wow.
They're full of nutrients,
Interesting.
and they give you tons of energy to make it through those tough conditions.
Okay, but I imagine they're kind of tough to eat, right?
They can be, yeah.
How do you even cook something like wild boar?
The key is to cook it low and slow.
Okay.
So braising, stewing, roasting, those kinds of things.
Uh-huh.
And cooking them with onions and leafy greens can make them more tender
Oh, okay.
and easier to digest.
I'm kind of imagining like a hearty venison stew
Yeah.
simmering on the stove, and the whole house smells amazing.
Exactly. That's the kind of meal that really warms you up from the inside out.
That sounds fantastic.
But of course, it's really important to source these meats sustainably.
Absolutely. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what about our plant-based friends?
Right. Well, our source recommends lentils as a great winter food for people who don't eat meat.
I love lentils.
They're great.
They're so versatile.
They really are.
Yeah.
And they're a great source of plant-based protein,
Okay.
especially when you combine them with grains to make a complete protein.
That makes sense.
Our source suggests pairing them with millet or buckwheat,
Okay, good to know.
which are great winter grains.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, how would you prepare those grains?
Well, our source had a really interesting idea,
Oh,
which was lentil stew with onions and carrots,
okay.
topped with millet or buckwheat, and a drizzle of olive oil.
That sounds really good.
You could even add some leafy greens.
Nice. I have to try that.
Yeah, it's delicious.
Okay, any other tips for cooking lentils?
Yeah, you can try adding a piece of kombu seaweed while you're cooking them.
Really?
It gives it a little boost of minerals and vitamins,
Wow.
and it helps them cook more evenly.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a trick I learned from Japanese cooking.
That's a great tip.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about individual ingredients,
Mm-hmm.
but what about the overall approach to eating during the winter?
Yeah, that's a great point. It's not just about what we eat, but how we eat it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, I've noticed as we've been talking that they keep mentioning slow cooking,
Right.
like stews and soups and roasts.
Yeah, yeah.
It seems like there's a reason for that.
It really does. It's almost like, those cooking shows where they're always simmering things on the stove, and it makes the whole kitchen smell amazing.
Yeah.
It's not just about creating that cozy atmosphere, though.
What is it about?
Well, there's actually a deeper reason.
Oh, okay. Tell me more.
Yeah, so using gentle heat for a long time helps break down those complex molecules in our food,
Okay.
which makes it way easier for our bodies to digest them
Oh, inch
and get
heat.
the nutrients out.
So it's like we're warming up from the inside out, too.
Exactly. It's
Skeleton.
kind of like pre-digesting the food for us.
That's fascinating.
Right.
It's like our bodies are getting a little extra help.
Exactly. And it all ties into this idea of working with nature,
Okay.
following those natural rhythms.
Like how animals hibernate,
Right.
migrate during the winter.
Exactly. Our bodies have their own ways of adjusting to the colder months.
That's true.
And by choosing foods that are naturally around during winter and cooking them in ways that help our bodies, we can actually thrive instead of just surviving.
I love that.
Right.
It's a really cool concept.
Yeah.
I've always heard about seasonal eating, but I never really thought about it that much.
It's really fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not just about what tastes good.
Right.
It's about what your body actually needs
Oh, I
at a certain time of year.
Okay.
So winter's all about saving energy,
Uh,
building up your resilience, and supporting your immune system.
right. And it seems like all the foods we've been talking about are perfect for that.
They really are.
It's amazing to think that these traditional ways of eating have been around for so long.
Yeah, it really shows how connected people were to nature
Yeah.
and how much they understood about food.
Yeah, like they knew what they were doing.
Exactly.
It's like real wisdom passed down through generations.
It's something we've kind of lost touch with.
Yeah, that's a good point.
With all the processed foods we have nowadays.
It's so easy just to grab something quick.
Exact.
But we can rediscover it, right?
Absolutely we can.
Doesn't matter where you're from or
Yeah.
what you like to eat. We can all learn from these ideas and apply them to our own lives.
Exactly. Take the basic ideas and make them work for you.
So if someone's listening and thinking, okay, I want to try this seasonal eating thing, where should they start?
Well, I think a good place to start is just paying attention to what's in season,
Okay,
where you live.
makes sense.
Go to farmers markets, talk to the people who grow your food, and try out some new ingredients.
That's a great idea.
You might be surprised at what you find.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to experiment in the kitchen.
Right, exactly.
Try out those slow cooking methods,
Yeah.
play around with different spices, and just figure out what you enjoy.
And what makes you feel good.
Yeah, that's really important.
Remember, it's not about being strict or denying yourself anything.
Right.
It's about rediscovering the joy of eating in a way that's good for you and the planet.
And it can be really delicious and cozy,
It can be.
especially in the winter.
Yeah.
It's not about just surviving winter. It's about thriving.
Exactly.
That's a really good way to put it.
It's about finding that warmth and energy that lets you fully enjoy the winter.
I love that. Speaking of enjoying winter,
Right.
I'm suddenly craving that lentil stew we talked about earlier
Me too.
with the roasted root vegetables, maybe with some bread and a glass of wine.
Now you're talking.
Right.
Yeah, but before we all run off to the kitchen,
Yeah.
let's take a minute to think about what we've learned.
Okay, sounds good.
We'll be back with some final thoughts on winter foods.
Okay, we're back. And I don't know about you, but I'm ready to go grocery shopping.
Me too.
All these winter foods sound so good.
Yeah, there really is something special about these traditional foods. Right. It feels like reconnecting with something important.
Yeah, it's like we're tapping into this ancient wisdom that's been helping people thrive for ages. Exactly. So as we wrap up our deep dive today, what's the most important thing you want our listeners to remember?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is that winter doesn't have to be something we just endure.
Yeah,
It's not about just getting by.
right.
It's about really enjoying it.
I like that.
Yeah, and by choosing foods that support our bodies during this time, we can truly thrive.
It's about embracing the season and nourishing ourselves.
Exactly, using what nature gives us to feel our best.
And like we've seen, there are so many delicious ways to do that.
There are.
All those root vegetables and spices,
Yeah.
the different proteins, and even cooked fruit.
Right, and this brings up a really important question for our listeners.
Okay, what is it?
How can you use this information and
Right.
adapt it to fit your own life?
Right, because everyone's different.
Exact.
Some people might be excited about trying venison,
Yeah,
while others are strictly plant-based.
and that's the beauty of it. There's no one right way.
Right, it's about making it your own.
Exactly. You take the basic principles like eating seasonally,
Mm-hmm.
using those slow cooking methods, focusing on nutrient-dense foods,
Okay,
and you figure out how to make those work for you.
that makes sense. So whether you're a total foodie or just starting to learn about healthy eating,
Right.
there's something here for everyone.
Absolutely. Experiment in the kitchen. Have fun with it.
Yeah,
Find your own delicious way to have a cozy and energized winter.
I love that. Well, that's a great place to end things.
Yeah,
Thanks so much for joining us on this deep dive into winter foods.
of course.
We hope you learned something new
Yes,
and that you're feeling inspired to nourish yourself this season.
absolutely.
Until next time, happy eating.